We have with us today Soumya Agarwal and a team. Soumya is the co-founder and CEO of Barefoot Edu. She excels as both a startup founder and an educational consultant. She completed her postgraduate degree as a Young India Fellow at Ashoka University at the age of 23 and co-founded Barefoot Edu Foundation. This social startup has a noble mission to revitalize schools in India by providing training to school principals who are essentially the CEOs of low resource schools. As the CEO of Barefoot, Soumya plays a pivotal role in leading the program and shaping the organization's impact strategy. Soumya's exceptional contributions have been recognized with the prestigious Mother Teresa Fellowship, which acknowledges her significant work in creating lasting social impact. It's over to you, Soumya, for a wonderful discussion on leadership and how that drives quality education.
Thank you so much, Kavita. We are really happy to be a part of this session today. I have with me my team and school principals, because no conversation about school leadership and principals is complete without their voices being heard. With that, I'd like to just introduce what we are going to be speaking about today and also the panelists for today. At Barefoot Edu, we work with the belief that school leadership needs to be entrepreneurial. What that means is that each school principal is not an administrator. They don't just need to be an academician, but they need to embody the spirit of entrepreneurship when they are leading schools. This particularly becomes important in the context of low resource schools serving children from underprivileged backgrounds. These are students and children of daily wage earners, of domestic help, of zari workers, etc. People who are around us all the time. But today we are here to talk about how these transformational leaders are bringing their heart and soul, a beautiful thought process behind it, and leveraging the spirit of entrepreneurship to provide quality education at the very grassroots. We have here with us Rajeshwari ma'am, who is the principal of Sri Padma Shri High School in Bangalore. She's an exceptional leader who's been leading not just our school, but a lot of community initiatives, because her belief is that as educators in such communities, we are inherently social entrepreneurs, we are social workers, and it is our duty to do everything in our capacity to provide quality education and a better quality of life to the students and the community around them. Rajeshwari ma'am, do you just want to say hi to the audience?
Yeah, hello everyone. And thank you for giving that beautiful introduction, ma'am.
Thank you. We are pleased to have you today. Next, we have with us Ms. Ma'am, who is the school principal of Zeal English High School, a school in one of the toughest communities in Mumbai. She will walk us through her journey of where the school is located, what the students are. But what strikes us the most about Ms. Ma'am is that she's not an educator by profession or by studies, as she says it, but her belief of coming in the education system was the stark reality of students getting into things like drug abuse, violence at a very young age. They were entering into these kind of spaces while they were teenagers, and Misga ma'am knew she wanted to do something about it. She founded Zeal English High School with her husband, and today not only provides education but also vocational training to the students and the community around her. She, like Rajeshwari ma'am, is also a community leader who's also started a community kitchen to help the mothers get employment. Ms. Ma'am, we are pleased to have you today and hear your thoughts on entrepreneurship, on school leadership, and everything in between.
Hello, everyone.
Would you just like to say hi? Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Next, we have with us Aditi Bhargav, who's a senior member at Barefoot Edu Foundation. She's a member of the leadership team, and she also is proficient at operations And currently, she plays the role of a design head, uh, structuring the culture at the organization and also defining how we speak about our impact. Uh, Something that Aditi brings to the table always in the way she leads the organization and the way she does her work is a role of empathy uh, as a human being, as a colleague, and as a leader. And we love to hear more of your thoughts through the panel discussion on this, Aditi.
Thank you, Soumya. So glad to be here.
Thank you. And then we have Pallavi Kejriwal. She is also a senior member at Barefoot Edu Foundation and currently the program manager of all kinds of student experiences for an education sector organization. Even if we work on school leadership, students are at the core of the work that we do and any education sector organization does. Pallavi brings to the forefront the role that sense of possibility brings. How can we dream more? How can we dream big for the students, irrespective of the background that they come from? And today, in the panel discussion on entrepreneurship in school leadership, she will be talking about the role of students, the role of the vision that the school leaders set for their students that sets them up for success in life. We are here with today. We have a small question for the audience. We'd like you to open your chat box and respond to, have you ever celebrated Teachers' Day? Tell us a yes or a no in the chat box. We'll take another 30 seconds to wait for your responses. Yes, yes.
The introduction and really happy and excited to be here today.
Thank you. And now that we've spoken a lot about who we are here with today, we have a small question for the audience. We'd like you to open your chat box and respond to, have you ever celebrated Teachers' Day? Tell us a yes or a no in the chat box. We'll take another 30 seconds to wait for your responses. Yes, yes, yes. An astounding yes is what we are getting. The next question that we have for the audience is, have you ever celebrated Principal's Day? No, no, no. Okay. That's the context with which we are working today. Principals are the backbone of the school. They're also the front runners of the school. But when we have day-to-day conversations about education, when we have conversations around how do you improve education, the first blame comes on the teacher. Teachers don't know how to teach. Or we say, I remember this teacher from my childhood. She was instrumental in my love for math. Who we forget often is our school principal, the karta dharta, as we call it, of the school, the one who sets the vision, the one who brings all these teachers together, who gets all of these experiences for the students, and basically is responsible for the running of the school today and in the future. They don't just worry about the present, but also how these students are going to perform in real life. Today, as I said, we are going to discuss a lot upon what role does the school leader play, what role does the school principal, as we call them, play, and what is it that, what are the kind of challenges that principals from under-resourced schools face? How do they overcome them? And as an entrepreneur, how do they see themselves? How do they use the spirit of entrepreneurship in their work today? With that, I'd like to open up the panel discussion with the first question to Misga ma'am. Misga ma'am, for our audience, we'd like for you to just talk a little bit more about what is the kind of school that you run, who are the students who are there, and just brief us about affordable private schools in general.
Thank you, Soumya. Before I begin myself, I would like to ask everyone present over here, what image does come to your mind when you hear the word school? I'm sure most of you have this visual in your mind, multi-story building, digitally equipped classrooms, science labs, computer class, a big playground, isn't it? But on contrary, the schools like us doesn't have all this. Our school runs in only 5 classrooms with no proper, you can say, science lab or playground. And for low budget school like us, computer rooms are a dream. So our school is located in very lovely city known as Mumbai. I'd like to give a glimpse of it. अंदर 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 पे अमोनिया मस्जिद नहीं नहीं अंदर जाना है मार्केट तक का जाऊंगा मोनिया मस्जिद. So, Ambujwadi is a place where even the local residents are reluctant to apply due to improper road infrastructure, or you can say kacha road, no street lights. How can we expect others to come forward and give us a helping hand? Even to get a good teachers over here is a big task for us. Besides all these hurdles, Zeal English School is imparting education to this slum dwellers kid for around 13 years. Ambujwadi has around like 28,000 families residing, and if we take on average 2 kids per families, that number sums up to 56,000 kids. Can we all imagine the future of these 56,000 kids without education? No. So families, I'll like to elaborate about some about the families there in Ambujwadi. These are the families which are migrant from all over the India who come in the search of jobs. They are basically daily wages labor, rickshaw drivers, taxi driver, greengrocers. So with no permanent job, these families hardly make ends meet. Even they have to struggle, to sustain their livelihoods. So education is the least thing they care about. So even in the school, students coming to our school are the first generation learners. Even they come with their own sets of worries because in these families they are exposed to domestic violence, then abusive behavior, then we can say alcoholic parents at a very young age. They are very vulnerable. Even we can't imagine their situation they are in. So even the school leaders must agree over here. The low budget school or the schools running in slums, they have to face the problems to getting the resources there in the school as well. Along with it, the biggest problem what we face is convincing parents to get their kids into the school. So our school has been running for 13 years, and we are just just one aim to bring a positive change in the community.
I think she's beautifully explained the context of the schools that we are talking about. It's not your fancy school with big buildings, with big grounds, etc. It is a school with a heart, but with limited resources, trying to bring a change in education and trying to bring quality education and quality of life to students uh, who come from very difficult, challenging backgrounds. When we speak about challenges, Taji ma'am, I'd like you to describe what are some of the challenges as a school principal, as a school leader that you face in running a school in such a context?
Yes, ma'am, even our school belongs to the same communities. What I feel is the success of a school depends on the community where the school belongs to. When I speak of the community, I am talking about the people in the community, parents, students, other schools in the community, everybody. So, directly or indirectly, these people influence the quality of the school. See, if I have to begin with my community, the school where my school is situated in, the community people here, their lifestyle is like totally not structured one. There, the use of demeaning languages, then forming groups, conflicts are very common there. So parents, most of them are from the same community. So their, as ma'am said, education is the least priority to them, and their understanding of quality education is entirely different. They always focus or get impressed with the grandeur of other schools. They feel that good infrastructure school will give good education. So such time, what happens is we are also pushed to no, give importance for such things rather than giving importance for quality education or the holistic learning of the students. Now the community and people are like this, parents are like this, then imagine the students coming from the same community, how they would be. For them, with such community and parents not that invested, for them the purpose of education is itself not known. They lack interest, they doesn't have motivation to learn. They come actually irregular to school. Some students doesn't even bother to go to school. Then it's a big challenge for us to, first challenge to get them to the school. And of course we know the grade level performance will never be there. Adolescent issues are there, they get lot of distracted, they are not cooperating. I would like to mention one thing now which is happening, ma'am. Because I feel it's a very serious thing, because the child protection policies which are there now, somewhere students are misusing it, are taking it for granted and trying to test the patience of the teachers. So here it's becoming very big challenge for the teachers to inculcate what they wanted the student in their mind, and also no, they're spending most of the time to bring uniformity among the student and on the behavior management, where they had to spend their time on giving them some knowledge to uplift their no their life to the betterment. But we are spending time on the other things. See, the students community parents are in this way. Yet teacher is also a biggest challenge for them, because our teachers are from the same community. So for them the teaching profession is a last resort. They are not ready to learn something new because they have a fixed mindset. They are comfortable using doing the traditional method of teaching. If the opportunity is given from my end, like if we are telling them to learn something or implement new ideas, they are actually not ready to take the risk. Then they feel it's a burden, they feel that it is going to be an obstacle for the daily schedule what they have to do. So it is making it is difficult for us to give the top quality education for the students. See, we Sri Padma Shri High School always believes in innovative teaching methods. So when we try something new, we are trying to give something new, something which is different or which is needed, much needed. What happens is we are getting lot of criticism from the other established schools, which is there for years together. They are used to follow this traditional method. They actually give us a lot of hurdles not to do follow the things what we are introducing, and they also try to mislead the parents. That creates a lot of confusion. So that is a challenge. So here non-acceptance of unique practices is there. That's a big challenge for us. Not only that, we are like in this race, we are into pressure that to fulfill the demands of all the stakeholders, we are doing certain things which is not required at all, which is not important. We are not doing what actually is really needed for us to do on daily basis. No, the schools are focusing more on putting out the fires regularly instead of working on their vision and missions. See, the highest goal of school management now, what has happened is it is revolving around tracking the grades and percentage of the students. How many of us are thinking about how what is it, what the child future is going to be there after his 10th grade? What is it he is doing after his graduation? How his life is going to be there? For that, what is it we are giving them? That is also a big challenge now. So like any education which is working under the pressure of stakeholders or trying to satisfy the stakeholders or doing something which is for today's I had to finish my day. If we are working under this vision, then I don't think we can give that quality education. But thank god, like we worked a lot, we are realizing what is happening, and we were continuously, even though we had all these challenges, continuously we're working on it. And somewhere I would happily share that with our growth mindset and consistent effort, we are ensuring that we are giving quality education, and somewhere we are trying to achieve with different programs. So that's it.
Thank you so much, Rajeshwari ma'am. You've beautifully captured the challenges, not just of a school principal, but with respect to the teacher, with respect to the community mindset, with respect to the students. And these are very real challenges, which I'm sure not just you, but all school principals working in these kind of contexts do come across uh, from a day-to-day perspective. Uh, with so many challenges around, Pallavi, I'd like to ask you about what do you think becomes the role of a school principal in such a context?
Thank you, Soumya, for the question. So now, when we look at the role of a school leader, I would like to start by first giving out, according to me, who is a school leader. So, a school leader for me is someone who's the face of the school, one who spreads the joy of learning, creates a love for knowledge for all, and turns teachers and students into lifelong learners. Right? And when we now, if we talk about what is the role of a school leader, for me, like I think this role of a school leader plays various roles, right? However, in today's conversation, I would like to focus on school leader's role in the perspective of child, teacher, and parent and community, similar to what Raji ma'am just spoke about. So, if we start from parents, as a parent, when a parent chooses to leave their children in the hands of the school, it's an act of immense trust and faith, right? It's almost like they're extending their family circle to encompass the school environment, hoping to find the same sense of safety, care, understanding that the child would experience at home. So, who is going to ensure this? There comes the role of the school principal. It's their role to create a safe space for each and every child where they feel heard, they feel valued, and they feel cared for. Also, I feel it's very important for a school principal to be easily approachable by a child. There should not be too many layers in between before a child can actually reach out to a school principal. It's almost like saying a school principal plays the role of a third parent in a child's life. That's, according to me, is the role of a school principal when we talk about a child. Now, moving on to the perspective of a role, to the perspective of a school principal's role when we talk about teachers. School principal, when we talk about teachers, they're like a mentor to them. They're helping them in recognizing their potential, guiding them as agents of change in the lives of children. And a school leader has to lead by example in front of their teachers. How are they going to lead by example? By fostering a collaborative environment, celebrating the small wins that they see in this school, giving agency to the teachers and students, and encouraging innovative teaching methods. And of course, always appreciating and empowering teachers and students in their schools. I firmly believe in this, that I firmly believe in a top-down approach. When I talk about a top-down approach, what I mean by it is the values that are instilled by a school leader is somewhere passed on to the teachers and subsequently imbibed by the children. So hence, the role of a school leader is very important when it comes to even as a in perspective of a teacher. Now, moving ahead, the last one, when we talk about parents and community, Raji ma'am just highlighted the major challenge that she's been facing, right? Is the mindset of the parents, the mindset of the community, to make them believe the need and the want for a good education system, to make them want to try, to make them be acceptable to a new approach of learning. How can that happen? To answer that question, that can happen by only and only if a school leader gets the parent and the community to work together with them by collaborating with them and by communicating with them. When I say collaborating with them, a school principal can collaborate with parents by involving them in the annual events, by involving them in their small day-to-day activities. Maybe they could give space for parents to run clubs in the school by itself, where parents could teach different aspects of life skills to children as well. So involving them in such perspective. Or when I talk about communication, communicating to the parents about the smallest of the thing that is happening in the school. How is their child growing over over a quarter? Giving such updates, giving personalized report cards for a child can make a huge difference. So hence I feel a school leader's impact, it ripples across the educational system, shaping students, teachers, and the community through values, communication, and nurturing the relationships.
Thank you so much, Pallavi, for capturing that. I think it's important what you've said in terms of uh, one, just the kind of belief system that the school principal comes with, and also understanding that just this one person can have impact on so many different lives. Uh, the way you have described it, that it's just they're not just a people leader, but they also need to look at communication. Need to look at processes in the school. They need to bring the team together. Uh, and those are just, I think, the starting points when we start describing the role of a school principal. Now that we have the context of the kind of schools that we are talking about, as covered by Ms. Ka ma'am, the challenges that school principals face, as covered by Raji ma'am, and what we think the school principal's role is, covered by Pallavi, we'd like to go into the next section. But before that, we have a question for you, audience. What are some of the words and the skills that come to your mind when you hear the word entrepreneur? Innovation, innovator, go-getter. Absolutely. Thanks so much, and please keep sharing some of these words that come to mind. Aditi, now we'd like you to help us bridge this gap between school leadership and entrepreneurship that we are talking about. How do you think entrepreneurship can play a role in navigating the challenges and the context that we've just spoken about as a school leader?
Um, Thanks, Soumya, for asking this question. The challenges that Raji ma'am, Misga ma'am, they just talked about are completely in two different cities, but most of them, they remain common to all the school leaders that we've worked with. And of course, there cannot be like a one-stop solution for the challenges they face, but because there are multiple stakeholders, there are multiple challenges, and none of them happens one after the other. All of them happen at the same time. um, to deep dive into the question, I would like to talk about the word entrepreneurship itself. And when we think of some very famous entrepreneurs that we know of, we usually think of Ratan Birla, Azim Premji. But when we have to think of a school principal as an entrepreneur, it takes us some time to think it that way. Or we try to think of those qualities in a school principal which can make them look like any other entrepreneur. Coming to the entrepreneurial mindset, for any school leader, I think one thing that remains common to be able to navigate the challenges that Raji ma'am, Misga ma'am, or any other school leader can really navigate is through leading with empathy. Any entrepreneurial journey is incomplete and ineffective if the school leader is unable to understand, connect, and respond to the emotions of the multiple stakeholders of the school. Misga ma'am and Raji ma'am, they both talked about diversity in their community. And leading with empathy over there would mean to first recognize such a challenge and then actively work on it to build an inclusive environment. In communities where children are constantly evolving in a challenging environment, their empathetic responsibility becomes to demonstrate this empathetic behavior at all times, because as Pallavi also mentioned, that school remains the place for them to be the safest place and a happy place for them. And these are some of the just basic challenges that we are talking about. Another point that I would like to mention over here is that oftentimes we look at the principal as a sole entrepreneur, right? Of course, they give the direction to the school. They are the ones who are leading, right? But these challenges cannot be fully solved by the school leader themselves. So then there is something that we can really talk about, which is shared leadership. We talk about how forms of leadership see the principal at the center of the circle and everyone else is on the circumference. But shared leadership looks at everyone, including the school leader, on the circumference, making everyone equal partners in the circle and the school. So you will see that the circle has the school leader and other stakeholders as well. Nobody is in the middle of the circle. Everybody is an equal partner there. Also, shared leadership is one of the most sustainable forms of leadership because the school can run even without the school leader as the decision making gets shared to some context. For example, there is a second line of leadership, which could include, of course, mostly teachers, sometimes staff members, parents, and sometimes students too. So this really helps in what? Building teacher capacity, retaining them for a long time. Also, they start taking ownership because they are creating structures on their own, right? So there's a lot of skill and will to perform better, and there are many more advantages to this form of leadership. So I think, yes, at the end, I think I'll just stick to these 2 points: leading with empathy and shared leadership. And we've seen how much wonders this has created in schools and navigate those challenges that we see every day in the school. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Aditi, for making the points on the principal as a people leader, as somebody who needs to have an empathetic approach and also have more hands along with them, not just be the sole people on the ground, not be the solopreneur, but have like this team uh, who can put this vision across that they have, help them achieve that vision. I think you've given us a really good segue into our next question. Before we do that, we'd like to mention to the audience that if you have any questions for particular panelists, you can put that in the chat box and we'll have some time at the end where we take these questions. Now, like Aditi spoke on things like empathetic leadership, on things like shared leadership, we understand the role of a school principal is in 3 different domains. One, how are they as school leaders? What that means for us is how are they leading the people in the school? How are they leading the systems in the school, the processes in the school? And how are they achieving this vision of good quality education for all children? The second role that they play is that of a systemic leader, something that both Misga ma'am and Raji ma'am touched upon. The way they can play a role in the community and the way they can actually impact more than people just associated with the school. How can they have this idea of a school uh, for the society at large and not just for the children that it was set up for? Right? And in order to do this, they themselves need to lead themselves better. They need to embody the qualities that both Pallavi and Aditi spoke about as people leaders, as being empathetic, as having a strong vision, as setting up systems and processes. The way we see it, we call it the self, school, and system approach. With that, we'd like to invite Raji ma'am to talk more about uh, her experience with entrepreneurship, her experience with system leadership. Ma'am, how have you expanded beyond the idea of just your school and involved the community through your projects of community leadership? And also, how do you impact other schools in the system and improve them with your work?
Ishwari, you're on mute. If you can kindly unmute.
Um, Raji ma'am, you can unmute yourself.
I'm sorry.
Yes, now we
Ma'am, I've
can hear you.
already said about the impact of community on students. So, having me grown up in the same community, I could see most of our children in the community were not ambitious. Forget about ambition. I could see them, the child who should have pen and pencil in hand is having knives and other stuffs which shouldn't be there in their hand. So that was not digestible at all. So I thought I should bring some change in their life. How could I do that? Then the only tool I could think of is education. So I started a school at Sri Padma Shri High School at 2005, and I did what and all I could do, but I was partially successful. The reason I mentioned you're partially successful was because whatever changes I could make for only for one group of students I could do who got enrolled at my school. The other children in the community were left out. That's one thing. And the second one is even the changes which we create on our students that was not consistent and permanent. Then we were worried what is going on. Then we found out that the students had lot of impact on what is happening in the community. So community influence was there that was not helping us to complete our whole vision. So we thought of a plan. Initially, what we did is slowly we just got in touch with the close circle of our students, like their parents, the teachers, parent and the community people, the relatives, neighbors, even the tuition teachers. Later, what we did is slowly we extended our program and other projects to the community as a whole in a larger sector. Ma'am, I as a social entrepreneur, what I believe is the success of my vision will happen only when it is going. No, that's what I was telling about me as a social entrepreneur. Believe that the success of my vision will is complete only when it is going behind the walls of my school. So we made it point that every month we will do at least one community project. And though we had a limited resource, our goal was clear. We will give high quality education, but first we'll create the moral values, not just in the children's, but also in the adults of the community. So we started partnering with different NGOs and we started a program with the name Survey Bhavantu Sukhinaha. That program aimed in creating projects for the community, small, tiny projects. And we also did a lot of service by providing food, so clothes for the needy people. To one extent, we just later slowly went to that uh, actual goal. We identified students from the community who are good in academics, and we started giving scholarship to them. We found sponsors, even if they are not willing to come to Sri Padma Shri High School, they are willing to go to other school, fine. But we will provide sponsor for them. So that is what we did. By all this act, we got the trust of our community. We created a good relationship with them. Then this helped me to do what I wanted in the community. They started encouraging our project. They started helping us. Actually, a point came wherein community people, without inviting, they came to us and they started helping in our projects. So and there are people now. Something happens in my school, any electrician work, any painting work, I will involve the people who are there in the community. I will not call anybody out of the community. So these things is helping because I believe you need to create that connection, trust in the community. Only then they will listen to us. So now we are in a place wherein I'm happy to say that my children are giving more value for moral values, and my stakeholders have understood that education is not just reading and writing, it's behind it. The purpose of education is behind the books. So now the other important thing is we are going behind our community now, as the need is increased and there are so many people who are want of our project, who are liking it. And so we are coming out with a new foundation called Clip People Foundation, which will work exclusively on the community project. So I was doing things as a school leader, as I was representing Sri Padma Shri High School. Now Sri Padma Shri High School will be part of Clip People Foundation. Clip People Foundation will work for the community, any community. We are going to do teacher development program, student leadership program, community project, anywhere any people is asking or who are in need of it. Our goal is just to create a nation which is a place for my children to live happily, and a safer place, ma'am, wherein everybody can feel that yes, we are also given respect, we are also taken into account, and that will happen. That will definitely happen.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Definitely, with school principals like you, it will happen. I think what strikes me the most is how easy it is for a lot of us to say that my school did not do this, my school did not do that. But the moment you start hearing from a school principal or a teacher, we start appreciating all that you do for students, all that you do for the family. And I think whenever we've interacted with you, the heart and soul that you put into the kind of work that you do uh, just takes away the cake. And the way you describe the school as a center for the community, as a center for the society, is something that's a big takeaway, which I hope the audience also has, to start looking at school just beyond education and start looking at it as one that's shaping the future, as a very important institution. Like you said, creating happy spaces, creating safe spaces, and creating wonderful human beings as the utmost goal of the school. Uh, so I think we've discussed a lot on the role of community leadership in the school. Uh, we asked the audience a question on what are some of the qualities of the entrepreneur, and we heard things like innovator, we heard things like go-getter. Something that is also a role of an entrepreneur is being a resource mobilizer, and that's something that we'd like Ms. Ma'am you to cover. How do you think you have been able to attract resources to your school? Uh, how do you think we just love to know about the different programs that you run, and how is this role of a resource attractor and a role of resource mobilizer come alive for you at Real English?
I very much agree with Rajeshwari ma'am. She has told us that how difficult is to get the resources. And Pallavi has mentioned that as a school leader, we have so many roles to play. So for any school leader, and basically we are talking here about low budget or under resources schools, imparting quality education single-handedly is a challenge. So we have to think and act as an entrepreneur here, analyze the situation of the or the problem, and get helping hands for it. For us, it is the collaboration is the key. It plays pivotal role in overcoming the hurdles. For us, taking the initiative and approaching different various NGOs and like-minded people or institution has gained us almost all the right resources. I'd like to give you an example over here. One of the significant challenges what we face in slum basically is the high dropout rates in the school, mainly in secondary section. According to NSO, that is National Statistic Organization, in India, the dropout rate in secondary section is around 20%. And when it comes to context with the slums like Ambujwadi, the figure rises to 30%. So it is really disheartening when the child is about to complete his or her education and he has to drop out. So when we jot down the reasons are behind that, it always comes the financial constraint of the family that has only one source of income and has to take care of five to six members. So in this scenario, education has to take the back seat to sustain the livelihood. To solve this dropout rates situation in our school, we collaborated and joined hands with some supporters and few NGOs. We have set up a community kitchen in our school itself, which has given platform to mothers. They already have this skill of cooking, which they can utilize to add on to their income in the family. And now in our community kitchen that is called Apna Rasoi, four mothers are working and proudly they are educating their kids, and they have become role models in the community for such desperate parents. So these are the things which we do to create awareness about education among the people and skill. Other things what we see in a slum, that all must be aware that all the population is uneducated and they barely have any skill. So we have started up a community center over here which offer different skill learning programs for women and children. We have tailoring class, then we have computer class for community children as well, and art and craft for the kids. empowering the women in this community, it becomes more impactful. They are more, they give back more to their families and the community. So our aim is to not only educate kids, but also providing opportunities to these women to get new skill and gain knowledge, so they can become self-reliant and contribute to their families and community. We must all agree that empowered women are more likely to drive positive change, and it will help us to break the cycle of poverty and enhance overall the well-being of the community.
It's just beautiful to also hear what you're saying with the background of the children.
Thank you,
Get into the
Soumya.
context of what we are talking about today. How can we better the lives of these students? Right? I'd like to remind the audience that these are not NGOs that we are talking about that are doing good work. These are schools that we are talking about who are doing education and also doing so much more for the community. They understand where the student is coming from, where the child is coming from, what kind of one room is that child living in, what does that impact their mental health, how does that impact the parents, and based on that they come up with projects. The beauty of investing in school principals, in giving just wings to their ideas, is that they are from the community, they believe in the community, they have a lot of ideas, and all they need is a little bit of structuring, a little bit of support, so that they can actually scale up these ideas. For us, uh, that is why entrepreneurship is so important, because they are already playing more the role of a school leader, but much more. In today's day and age, where uh, we are in the context of this session, the Changemaker Summit, where we are talking about different sustainable development goals. We are living in a world where climate change is real, where health crisis comes day in and day out, where we have a lot of climate emergencies that are happening. Right, the world is constantly changing. This is the 21st century that we are living in, and with that, our schools also need to evolve. Aditi, we'd like for you to share with us, how do you think a school leader can play the role to provide education and create a school that's still relevant in the 21st century, that ensures that children are thriving, they're receiving the right kind of education that sets them up for the present and for this ever evolving world?
So I think Raji ma'am and Miska ma'am, because they demonstrate these qualities so well, the question gets answered here only. But to answer this question, I think we also need to deep dive a little bit deeper into what a 21st century school looks like. When we look at the national education policy, of course, there's a holistic definition that we get from there. In general, it could mean that schools want to develop skills like problem solving, collaboration, communication, and also develop a child centered pedagogy in the school. The schools that we work with, of course, they want to move into that direction. For them, it could also mean that some of them want to focus on digital literacy, they want to focus on foundational literacy and numeracy, co-curricular activities, and there are also school leaders who want all of this in their schools. Right, I like to begin with one story and then move on to the quality that I saw in that particular school. So this story is about a school called Gurukul School in Mumbai, where the school leader wanted his students to participate at least in one sport. And he was very well aware that the school lacked an important resource, which is the playground. Now, to get the community playground as well, he had to do a lot of protests, and the best part over here was that he was not doing this alone. He was doing this with his school himself, right? So, with the help of resources and the ownership that the students and the staff members they took, today he's made it possible that more than 700 students have participated not only in regular sports activities, but they've also won medals at state and national levels, and he calls this vision G for Gurukul, G for gold. So that keeps that he uses in his messages also, whenever he speaks also. Now I want you to look specifically at 2 points. One is, of course, that any school leader needs to be a visionary. That's one important quality that any school leader should have, because of which your stakeholders will always have a direction set for them. And second is being a strategic mobilizer, because if you are able to run your in order to run your school smoothly or just build these skills in children, you will not be able to find every expertise or resources in the school, right? You can always go beyond the school to seek partnerships, volunteers, funds, mentorship, and coaching. um, to talk about the other 2 points, I'll quickly share another story over here of a school leader called Lata ma'am. And her school is again in a community like this, where she is a school leader who's led a livelihood program for her school, for parents and students, and also an FLN-based program for students till secondary level. Now, what led her to make this decision? She went with what the data said. And second, when she entered our program, she not only believed in developing her own capacity, but capacity of a second line of leadership as well. So it was always 3 entrepreneurs or 2 entrepreneurs attending our sessions. And this gets me to the third quality, which is a entrepreneur, a school leader becoming a data-driven decision maker. You can never underestimate the power of data, because to make informed decisions, strategy planning for the year, or leading just these school improvement projects, you cannot leave data behind. And the fourth one, of course, is believing and investing in staff's welfare and capacity building. If there's a balance of welfare and capacity building, it can bring a transformation, a change in teacher motivation, retention, pedagogy, and of course, the transformation of the school as well. So, yeah, visionary, strategic mobilizer, data driven decision maker, and of course, an SL who believes in invests in staff's welfare and capacity building is something that I feel can really bring a change and can make a school a 21st century school. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Aditi. I think what you've also not only answered the question, but also highlighted upon the fact that the role of the school principal is so very important, right? It's so critical, it's so crucial in what gets done or not get done in the school, uh, and how vast and all-encompassing it is. It's with this responsibility that school principals like Miska ma'am and Rajeshwari ma'am do take their work very, very seriously and go above and beyond. Uh, Ultimately, we are talking about schools, we are talking about education. And one stakeholder who we cannot forget is the child. The child is at the center of the work that we do, about the conversation that we are having. But often, what happens is when we're talking about the children coming from these challenging backgrounds, these under resourced backgrounds, we start also thinking that the potential that they have is less, right? Our goal for them just becomes that they should get a decent job. Right? Uh, with that context, I'd like to ask Pallavi, what, how can we embody the sense of possibility? How can we dream bigger for these children? How can we dream better for these children? And what kind of a role does the sense of possibility play in unlocking the potential of every single child?
Thank you, Soumya, for that question. And I think sense of possibility plays a very, very, very important role. So when we talk about a child's potential, it is, how do you think a child's potential is unlocked? It's unlocked through the right opportunities and the guidance that help them discover their unique skills. I believe that one might lack resources, but not innovation. Sorry, is there background noise? Am I clear? I'll carry forward. So I will just start off with, I'll give you an example about this. So I run a project called Junoon, which happens for the students of under-resourced communities, and it takes place 4 times in a year. Last year, I decided to introduce students to a new concept of using technology to create projects. And to give you slight context, the students who we are talking about, majority of these students come from the low income schools. Hence, they do not have computer labs. Do they have resource to mobile phones? No. Even if they do have, do they have smartphones? No. Very bare minimum people might have smartphones. And when they have smartphones, out of the two parents, maybe one parent will have. And who's that one parent? The one who stays outside the house most of the time of the day. So hence there comes a major question: the what, where, and how. So when we told about this opportunity to our school leaders were very excited at first, but at the same time they were very nervous. They had questions: how will we do it? ये तो नहीं हो पाएगा, हमारे पास resources नहीं है. Are you sure? Then, but then I gave the affirmation to the school leader that just at least give it a try, listen out what is this all about, get to attend the workshop, and then you will see the power that a child can do. Oh, but I just forgot to tell you what the project is all about. The project is all about creating newsletters and podcasts as a new tool for communication using technology. We thought of introducing that concept to children, and you will not believe the kind of work that children brought about was out of the world. We students showed us the power of innovation. Students, the projects were such that the judges who were experts from the industry, they themselves could not believe that this has been done by the students who lacked resources. So hence this says a lot. One of the school leader also came up to us and said, मुझे कभी नहीं लगा था कि मेरे बच्चे ये कर सकते हैं. Hence, it is an innovative approach, growth mindset, and the belief in yourself and your students which can unlock the potential of every child. Now, with that, I like to give you all one more example because I think I have little more time to share over here. So there is another program that we run called the Right Pitch, which is proven to be a catalyst for change. This program centers around building 21st century skills in children through cricket. We identify and train youth from the community itself to become coaches, and we empower them to become mentor to the children via cricket. So the children we engage with, you already have the context of the children that they come from families of daily wage earners, right? Despite their circumstances, we have witnessed a powerful shift. Two former students of the Right Pitch have now become coaches. They are they are shining examples of transformation. They have not only they're not only coaching young minds in cricket, but also serving as positive role models to the children in their community. I feel this goes beyond sports. These kids who had somewhere limited dreams now have real life superheroes. They look up to their didi or bhaiya and see a different future altogether. These coaches, their success stories has sparked hope and determination, inspiring the young ones to dream big and create change in their own community. Hence, I believe a school leader is instrumental in grabbing opportunities for students and also being a positive role model in their life. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pallavi. I think you've captured it beautifully that just because they come from an under-resourced background does not mean there's a lack of innovation that is happening. There's a lack of potential that is happening.